How to communicate with God. Have you ever felt that when you truly desire something from your heart, it coincidentally happens? Or experienced that when you call out to God with full faith, you get inner peace or guidance? All these are proofs that God listens. His voice is very subtle. When our mind is noisy, these divine messages are lost. Conclusion. The power of true prayer is that we have to completely calm and purify our mind. When our mind is free from ego, desires, and worldly distractions, only then can we hear the faint but clear voice of God. Next question. If God listens, then do all our prayers get fulfilled? Is God obliged to fulfill our wishes? The answer is hidden in the next secret, where we will understand what is more important than prayer. Second secret. What is more important than prayer? Most of us, when we go before God, just ask. Some pray for wealth, success, happiness, peace, or solutions to specific problems. But have you ever thought whether we have tried to listen to what God is saying? Paramahansa Yogananda says that merely asking does not establish a dialogue with God. Listening to God is more important than asking. Why is listening more important than asking? When we ask God, it's a one-way communication, just speaking. Suppose you are talking to someone, but you keep talking without trying to listen. Will the dialogue be successful? Certainly not. To talk to God, we must learn to hear His voice. This voice is not in words, but is an inner feeling, an inner experience. Paramahansa Yogananda explains that prayer isn't just about asking, it's also about feeling His divine presence. When you only ask, your mind remains restless. But when you try to listen, a deep inner peace is experienced, and in that peace God gives us His signals. How do we get signals from God? When you go deep into meditation, a divine power awakens within you. This power makes you experience God's presence. It shows you the right path, gives solutions to your problems, and most importantly, makes you realize that God is not outside, but within. But how do we listen to God's voice? The most important practice is meditation. When you sit correctly in meditation, your mind becomes like a calm lake. Just as a reflection is visible clearly in a still lake. When your mind is peaceful, you can clearly feel God's signals. Paramahansa Yogananda says that the most powerful way to converse with God is meditation. When you go deep into meditation, you don't just hear your thoughts, but also experience God's presence. Why is prayer incomplete without meditation? If you are not ready to listen to the response, you can never have successful communication. Similarly, if you want to talk to God, you must be able to feel His presence. Merely praying in words is not enough unless you experience His divine presence. What is the right method of meditation? How should one meditate so that answers from God start coming? The answer is in the third secret, where we will learn how to meditate properly to feel God's energy. Third secret, how to experience God in meditation. Many people try to meditate but do not experience God's presence. Why? Because meditation is not just sitting and closing eyes. True meditation is where we elevate our consciousness to higher levels and feel God's presence. Paramahansa Yogananda calls Kriya Yoga a secret technique that allows the practitioner to have a direct experience of God. It is not an ordinary meditation, but a deep spiritual process. Through controlling breath and consciousness, the mind becomes steady, and the soul begins to experience its true state, connecting with God. The secret of Kriya Yoga and breathing. Our breath is the key to the mind. When we are restless, our breathing becomes rapid. When we are calm, breathing slows down. When in deep meditation, breathing nearly stops. This is the real key to meditation. If we control our breath properly, we can control our mind. When the mind is steady, our inner energy begins to rise upward. The third eye, and experiencing God. As this energy rises through meditation, it concentrates on the Ajna chakra, third eye. This is the point where the practitioner first experiences God's presence. A divine light may appear, a deep peace may be felt, or an inner voice may be heard. Paramahansa Yogananda states that when a practitioner practices Kriya Yoga, the soul directly communicates with the divine. They do not just perceive God as an imagination, but feel His real form within. Does one only meet God in meditation? Now the question arises, do we experience God only in meditation? Is there any other way to feel His presence at all times? Fourth secret, how to feel God at every moment. Most of us believe that God is limited to temples, idols, and rituals, but is God really confined there? Paramahansa Yogananda explains that God is everywhere. He is in every breath we take, in every heartbeat, in every thought and feeling. Why do we only find Him in temples? Because we have been taught from childhood to go to temples and bow before idols. But we forget that God is not limited to one place. If God is everywhere, then why do we only feel His presence in idols? Because our attention is focused on external objects. To feel God, we need to look inward. Until our consciousness is elevated, we cannot understand His true presence. Paramahansa Yogananda says that when you do every task with love, faith, and surrender, God begins to work through you. When you do any work honestly and with dedication, you experience deep satisfaction. This is a sign that God is working within you. No task is small or big. If you perform your work as an offering to God, even simple tasks become spiritual practices. Do you ever feel that while meditating, someone's power is watching you? Have you ever felt that someone is guiding you, or that a sudden solution appears in difficult situations? All these are signs from God, but how do we get answers from God? How to recognize His response? 5 secrets. Calm the mind. Only when the mind is calm can we understand these signals. Observe every experience carefully. Any event or word can be a message from God. Listen to your heart. If an answer comes from within and gives you peace, it is from God. Once you have established this connection with God, the real question is how to maintain this relationship, how to ensure that the connection with God never breaks. 6th secret, how to keep the relationship with God. Most people call upon God during difficult times, but once the crisis is over, they forget Him. Many meditate and pray, but after a few days, they get involved in worldly life again. Gradually, their spiritual progress halts, and they ask again, why doesn't God listen? 3 rules to maintain your relationship with God. Practice regular meditation. Keep your mind pure. Associate with good company. Keep your consciousness uplifted. Control your thoughts. Avoid negativity. Adopt love, compassion, and kindness. Can everyone reach God? Is this path open to all or only some special people? 7th secret. This will shatter the biggest misconception. Does God only talk to special people? Does God only converse with saints and yogis? Can an ordinary person never receive His response? Paramahansa Yogananda clearly states that God can speak to anyone, whether a great yogi or an ordinary person. The only condition is sincere devotion and purity of heart. God is not limited to a specific class or special people. He resides within every soul. His darshan, vision, can be experienced by everyone. 2 essential things to connect with God: sincerity of heart, devotion. There is no complicated process to reach God. Anyone just needs to call out from the depths of their heart. Devotion must be genuine and true, regardless of the language in which it is expressed. Sometimes we think our prayers don't reach God, but the truth is, He hears every call. We just don't recognize His response. When the mind is free from ego, fear, and doubt, God's response becomes clear. Awakening God within. Yogananda says that God is not outside, but within us. When we travel inward, we begin to feel His presence. Every soul has a divine spark, an inner flame, but we need to recognize and awaken it. Is it true that anyone can talk to God? Yes, if you call out sincerely with a pure heart and develop the capacity to understand His response. Does God's reply come immediately? If we do not get an answer, what should we do? Last secret. You will be amazed to learn that everything can change. The eighth secret, the most important truth. We have understood that to communicate with God, we need meditation, intuition, love, and faith. But Paramahansa Yogananda says the most essential thing is surrender. What is true surrender? When you completely let go of your ego, surrender your desires to God's will, and accept that whatever is happening is right for you, then you can experience God's true presence. The greatest example of surrender is when Lord Krishna told Arjuna, "Surrender all actions to me and perform your duty with detachment." Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say, "When a child is in its mother's lap, it has no worries." Similarly, when a person surrenders to God, he is free from fear. Only through surrender can a direct dialogue with God happen. When you dedicate your life with full faith and surrender, words become unnecessary. God understands every emotion without speaking. The only question is, are you ready to surrender yourself completely to God from today? Will you let go of your desires and ego and flow according to His will? Will you stop asking and start making Him the guide of your life? Remember, only those who surrender truly can speak with God. If this knowledge has been valuable to you, share it with others. Ninth secret. Does God fulfill every prayer? We have all asked God for something: wealth, success, love, health. But not every prayer is answered. Does this mean God doesn't listen? Paramahansa Yogananda explains that God gives us what is best for our soul's growth, not necessarily what we desire. Why doesn't God fulfill every wish? There is a difference between our needs and desires. God gives only what is necessary for the spiritual development of the soul, not what satisfies ego or momentary happiness. Our desires are material, but God wishes for our spiritual growth. When a child asks for poison, does the mother give it? Similarly, if something is harmful for our spiritual progress, God may refuse to give it. Sometimes, God doesn't give what we ask for, but offers something even better. True devotion is not a bargain. When we demand things from God, it's not true love, but a transaction. True devotion is surrender, believing that whatever happens is right, and trusting in God's plan. When we stop asking and simply pray for connection, God reveals His true form and presence. We begin to feel His presence in every moment. Should we only pray and meditate? Is there any deeper way to connect with God? Next secret. Your perception will change. The 10th secret. We have learned that the simplest and most powerful way to connect with God is through unselfish love. What is unselfish love? When you help others selflessly, without expecting anything in return. When you see God in every being. When you love without greed, you start approaching God. Devotion is not only in temples, but in everyday life. Many think that to reach God, they have to perform rituals in temples. But true devotion is not limited to temples. It manifests in daily life. When you help a needy person, forgive someone, or speak words of love and compassion, you are closest to God. God does not only speak to saints or yogis, He also speaks to all loving souls. Love and compassion are the bridges that take us to Him. The question is, when will you start applying this knowledge in your life? Are you ready today to ignite the lamps of love and compassion within you? Are you willing to stop asking and start making Him part of your life? Remember, those who surrender truly can speak with God. If this knowledge has been valuable to you, share it with others. Comment and subscribe to our channel. This helps us to create more videos like these. Thank you.